System Shock 2. How do I begin to introduce this game? No, seriously, I've never played it. I have no idea what's going on. The original System Shock 2 was released in 1999, making it only a little younger than myself. That is to say, Baby Doom never knew the horrors this game had to tell, which also means I never played the original, but in 2023, a remake of the first System Shock game was released. I played through that and really enjoyed it, and that game with only melee and grenades was the original plan for this year's Halloween video, but then the System Shock 2 remaster came out and I figured, why not do that instead? The problem though is that having never played it, I have no idea what's even in the game, but never one to back down from a challenge, I decided to start and see how it goes. The game opens with a bit of a lore dump. Humanity has created a ship that is capable of faster than light travel. It's all rainbows and sunshine until there's a mysterious transmission saying the ship, the Von Braun, is not to be allowed to take off under any circumstances. Something is amiss. It's probably fine. Next comes the tutorial that introduces us to the basics of the game, and let me tell you, oh boy, this is way different than what I expected. I'll admit my expectations were shaped by the first game's remake, which, while I'm told is very faithful to the original, felt like a modern experience. This game, however, feels like an old school RPG with a somewhat shiny new coat of paint, which, I guess considering it's a remaster, makes sense. Regardless, it took me a while to get the hang of how everything works and where all the information is. Hell, the fact that the game has a button you can click to tell you details about the world around you should tell you everything that you need to know. After the tutorial, I had decided on what I would do for this run. Basically, just no bullets. Doesn't sound as cool as melee only or something, but it's not as easy as you might think, amplified again by the fact that I don't know anything about this game. I'm then given a choice to enlist in either the military, the Navy, or the OSA. Military is most likely the firearms branch, but I had no idea what either the Navy or OSA would do. Hell, even now, I'm not sure what OSA even stands for, so obviously, I picked that one. Is it finally time to start the game? Well, no. Because now we have the pick your traits part of the RPG, but instead of just reading text and deciding, you can be immersed in the world. Sort of. You're presented 3 choices, and they all have a little lore exposition of what they are, but also the effect like +1 strength or skills for your psi amplifier. The announcer tells you where each shuttle will take you, but that's where the immersion ends because the game's budget ran out and it just displays a text box of what happened. You then do that a couple more times, and now the game can finally begin. We are a soldier that has been assigned a position aboard the Rickenbacker, a military craft that is protecting the Von Braun. 5 months after our assignment though, we are awakened by Dr. Janice Polito with memory loss because writing time skips is hard. I mean because we are recovering from surgery and told something has gone horribly wrong. Dr. Polito informs us that the ship has been hijacked by an unknown force and we need to meet her on deck 4. And that's kinda it. We're given our mission and let loose on the world. To be fair, there is sort of an extended tutorial here, but more or less this is the whole game. You're given an objective and just have to figure it out for yourself. Nearby, I pick up my first real weapon, a psi amplifier, and since I took the shuttle text box, I'm already able to use a damaging psiotic ability, cryokinesis. This is going to be one of my primary damage dealers throughout the whole game. I also grab a wrench, a humble melee weapon that also gets a lot of use until it's upgraded to something better. After clearing some rubbish from in front of a ladder, I'm informed that there is an imminent hull breach, and if I don't want to get the final suck of my life, I need to get to safety. On a dead body, we find an audio log, which is arguably one of the most important items in the game, as they frequently provide clues on how to do your objective, or more importantly, codes to lock doors. After climbing through some vents, I'm shown how to use a recharge station, which will basically juice up any of the chargeable items in my inventory, which for this is just a battery to open a nearby door. Finally, Polito sends over some modules, which are essentially skill points that let me upgrade. A lot. Like, a lot of things can be upgraded. My character stats, for example strength and endurance, tech-related skills like hacking and maintenance, weapon skills which affect damage and the ability to actually use certain weapons, and my psionic abilities, which can do a variety of things like damaging enemies, showing the locations of items, and healing or damage mitigation. Yeah, there's kind of a lot. When I said the game was old school, I wasn't kidding. I don't really mind it, but I can't help but feel at least some of these skills, while integral to the role-playing experience, were added just to be added. Like, sure, research so you can research objects, okay, and it makes sense that someone cosplaying as a gun-wielding soldier wouldn't know an alien ass from an alien elbow, but like, it's kinda bloat, right? Maybe I've just been spoiled by newer games. Again, I'm not actually knocking it, but yeah. Anyway, after fumbling around and breaking my legs repeatedly, not realizing I literally have a tool to get items out of my reach, I stumble my way into the main area of the first deck. And within 2 seconds, an enemy comes charging at me. Fortunately, 2 blasts from my definitely not magic orb takes it out, giving me a false sense of, this is going to be easy. Oh, the game's not afraid to go there. You know what, I respect that. In the same room, I am told about the quantum reconstruction machine, basically the respawn points on the ship. There's usually one on each deck, but I must find it first before I can use it. Okay, good to know. Rounding a corner, an explosion happens, and Polito informs me that basically I need to pick up the battery, recharge it, and use that to get to the medical substation of the deck. What she didn't tell me is that there's a camera above me, and oh look, now there are endlessly respawning enemies rushing me. That's fine, that's totally cool. Backtracking a bit, I find the main elevator, but unfortunately the power is offline. Polito, sensing my distress, tells me that the power can be transferred from the energy core, but we obviously can't use the elevator to get there. But the good news is that there is a maintenance shaft on this floor. The bad news is it's locked. The good news, again, is that Dr. Watts should have a code to get in. The bad news, again, is that he's in the crew substation. Grassy should have a key for it, but they are in the biopsy lab in medical. Do you see what I mean? The game is very much so, go get this key to open this door for that key to open that door for that object. It's old. I'm not complaining, really, as a lot of modern games do it too, it's just disguised better. And all of this was told in a single email transmission. If you missed it, then you're just bumbling around looking for some small object that would help. Well, that's not completely true, there is an emails tab, but I didn't learn about that until like halfway through the game. Anyway, the objective is now to recharge the battery, to open a door, to find a key, to open a door, to find another key, to open a door to a maintenance shaft to restore power, to then finally get to deck 4 and meet Dr. Polito. Okay, let's do this. I nearly died when an enemy snuck up behind me and smacked me with a lead pipe literally twice, but my magic not magic balls handled the situation. Eventually, I found my way to this little area and 2 turrets popped out of the wall. To be honest, these turrets are the second worst enemy in the whole run. They do suffer from a cooldown on firing, but they can be a right pain in the ass with their placements. I then attempt to charge all my items, but you know what I don't have? The battery, because I didn't see it earlier. After some backtracking, I find it laying next to the door, then accidentally get spotted by another camera. While trying to make my way forward, I made 2 important discoveries. 1, some windows can be broken, and 2, lead pipes fucking hurt. What even killed me? I make my way back to the charger, which allows me access to the medical subdeck, but before I go there, I backtrack and level up research once to begin researching the random unidentified organs I have been carrying around. I bet the space CDC hates me. In medical, I do the only logical thing, and that is to spend like 30 minutes playing Minesweeper. Look, it was this or Subway Surfers, okay? My attention span isn't getting any longer. My god. They made the monkeys psychic! Also, yes, at some point I do start taking out the cameras before being noticed, it's okay. There's a radiation leak in this area, and at first I thought, oh, I should stay away from that. But then I remembered in the last game there was a super important item that was required for progression in an irradiated area. So I figured I was supposed to just run in here like I was trying to make the ultimate Bruce Banner cosplay. Did I find anything? Well, I found an anti-radiation hypo, so that's nice, I guess. Oh look, armor. I wonder if that will help me to not die. I love how some games let you restore your HP from pretty much any food and drink. Like imagine in real life if I ordered a Baconator from Wendy's with a Coke and it gave me my health back. If it did that, I'd eat there more than 12 times a week. Eventually, I make use of my minimap and find myself in this hallway with no psychic juice and a turret. It did not end well for me. But I was able to find another way in by breaking through this window. After fending off countless enemies by definitely not hiding in a place they couldn't get to and waiting out the alarm, I drop down and find the keycard to the crew deck. Using it lets me gain access to, well, the crew deck, which has some food and drink and a vending machine that dispenses frag grenades. You know, a standard USA model. In here I find my first OS upgrade, which are one-time use permanent upgrades. At this particular upgrade station, I took the one-time use 20 extra cyber modules, which honestly kind of feels like a noob trap, but whatever, it's fine. It's my first time playing and all, and I'm allowed to make mistakes. Right? I mean, there's definitely no one angrily typing about how I ruined my experience by doing this. That would never happen. Ha! I use those modules to level up hacking and hack the vending machine for cheaper products, then hack the nearby security station for fun. Eventually, I find my way to Watt's room, but surprise, he isn't here. Polito thinks he's in the R&D lab, and helpfully there is a keycard for that sector in his desk. So I take it and make my way over there, and it turns out Dr. Watts is actually alive. If only for a moment. 2 more enemies spawn to try and kill me. They have shotguns, but surprisingly they are less deadly than the lead pipe variant. Either way, Watts had a voice log with a code for the door I needed, so I run back over there and oh fuck, that's a robot. Go Ice Ball! I tried to use the charged up version, but honestly it just wasn't super useful to use in combat. Maybe to get the jump on enemies, but spamming my projectile works better and more importantly is much safer. I also took regeneration at one point, so that helps get my health back, which I immediately lose as I walk into another enemy with a melee weapon. Anyway, I use the maintenance shaft to get to the engineering deck, and my mission is to go to the engineering core to redirect the power. The puzzle on this level is that the coolant tubes are leaking radiation and is causing the engine room to be on lockdown, so I gotta clear that. Would you like to see something that sums up my playthrough pretty well? I'm eluding a corpse, completely unaware of the security camera about to look at me, and just before it spots me, I pull out my amplifier to fire a bolt of ice at it and instead set myself on fire. Hey Lemon, System Shock 2 immolation only run win. Is peeking the turret a good idea? Probably not, but it worked. Okay, that one's bull. Pretty sure it singed the pixel on my right elbow and it counted as a hit. Now it's time for the shuttle bay, which was an awful section. I died several times here because all of the enemies are fucking robots. Not fucking robots, that would be pretty cool. I mean, robots that suck. Wait, no, that would be cool too. First though, I have to take a trip through the lower intestine. Where am I? Jokes aside, the Mini talk to us and not so indirectly say we should join them or be torn to shreds. I say, nah. Ironic to my complaining, my first death here actually came at the hands of a hybrid who snuck up behind me. That doesn't really bother me at all. What does is that I now have to sit through the Mini's dialogue again. I thought I was clever for circle strafing the security droid and hitting it with a wrench to save on ammo. Then it blew up. I don't know why I didn't see that coming. Wanna know what sucks? The protocol droids also explode. Okay, well that one was just on me. Yeah, so this place is packed full of exploding robots and laser turrets, so much so that I eventually decided to just run. Eventually, I was able to locate an audio log that gave me the door code for engineering control. And inside, I was able to flush the tubes. Is what I would like to say, but Xerxes, the ship's onboard AI, has locked me out of doing so. Conveniently, the dead individual in the room had the MacGuffin I was looking for. Basically, an engineer found out someone was tampering with the AI and decided to make a backdoor to the fluidics control computer. All I have to do is install override 45M over DEX. That's a weird-ass unit of measurement, but whatever, if I do it, I will be able to bypass Xerxes' control. Double conveniently, the same audio log tells me exactly where to find it, storage 5 in the coolant tubes area. So I did what any sane individual would do in this situation, hack a vending machine and buy a bunch of drugs. Well, that didn't turn me into the Hulk at all.
Now listen carefully. The xenomorphs who...
I'm sorry, the fucking what? I ain't Ripley, this mission is not going to go well. Oh hey look, a rad suit. Okay, well that is useful. Not gonna stop a chest burster, but hey. Eventually, I happen upon storage room 5, which is also this floor's chemical storeroom, but off to the side I grab the correct PCB. Then I make my way to the command center where I install it and run penetrate backdoor.exe, but joke's on me because as I was leaving I walked into a droid and it was me who got their backdoor penetrated. Regardless, I can now clear out the coolant tubes, which gives me access to the engine core. On a dead body, I find a laser rapier, which will be a direct upgrade to my wrench. However, I lack the stats to use it, so it just goes in my back pocket for now. Either way, I restart both engine pods, bringing power back online, and I can finally restore the main elevator to working order. Now all that's left to do is to take it to Deck 4 and meet Polito. Ha! Psych! Of course it's not that easy. Did you really think we just go straight to Deck 4? No, there's some kind of growth blocking the elevator, so I have to stop on Deck 3 hydroponics and clear it. Polito quickly discovers that the whole deck has been turned into a breeding ground for some xenomorphs, but that's okay, it's probably safe as long as I don't hang around for a few hours. Anyway, the rampant egg laying caused some biomatter to gunk up the shaft, so I need to find a way to clear it. Down the hall, I picked up Toxin A, an experimental material that was developed to halt the growth of the aliens. Polito tells me that she has no data on it and that I'll need to research it myself, which is, totally helpful, but at least she's kind enough to give me some cyber modules. The good news is that I had already leveled research because I like knowing about the things around me, so I just get to keep those modules. The bad news is that it requires some additional chemicals. Better news, they can all be found in the storage room on engineering. But before backtracking, I had wondered if the storage room on this floor would also have them, so I decided to explore a little bit. I did not manage to find the chemical storage room, it must be behind one of the locked doors, but I did happen upon 2 more vials of Toxin A, so I thought I would just hold on to them. I also found another OS upgrade station, and this time I took Pharmo Friendly, granting 20% increased benefit from all hypos and healing items healing 20% faster. To be honest, this still wasn't the best choice, but every little bit helps, I guess. Anyway, in engineering I nabbed the chemicals and stand still performing science to unravel the mysteries. Then when I returned to hydroponics, Polito informed me that I will need to shove the toxin directly into some environmental regulators. 4 of them specifically, which means I'm already 3/4 of the way through. I knew my days of item hoarding would pay off. At the first environmental regulator, I try to use my psychic mind-bending powers on this nice lady, but she tells me she only accepts cash and it costs me extra. Then I go ahead and place the toxin in the regulator, but unfortunately I get face hugged, but like, way less deadly. Thankfully, I did happen to have an antitoxin hype on me, but I'm sure that's not going to be an annoying thing I have to watch out for going forward. It's that time again, folks. I get to show you how stupid I am and that I have an attention span that requires me to have like 7 copies of Minecraft speedrun and Subway servers running while I do anything. I used my cyber modules on the ability molecular transmutation because I misread the text thinking it turns ammo into hypos. No, it turns ammo or hypos into nanites, which is extra hilarious given what happens later in the run, but I digress. My point is that the description is like 6 words long and guys, I think I'm stupid. I wasn't completely sure where to go next, but then I remembered some glass can be broken. Whether this is the intended way forward or I just took a shortcut, I'm not sure. Either way, I then found a grenade launcher, and at first I was on the fence about whether I should even add grenades, but regardless, you better believe I found a way to pick that thing up and bring it with me. Around a few more corners I find the chemical storage and the fourth of the 4 vials of Toxin A that I will need. Now I just need to fill all the regulators. I also found an energy pistol, which, similar to the grenade launcher, I wasn't sure if I would include it, but it is coming with me. After some bumbling around, I managed to find about a zillion eggs, leading me to think I was on the right track, and sure enough, there is another regulator down here, as well as the hydroponics A-deck access card, and so that's where I'm going next. Bro, listen, I don't care how hungry you are, a Snickers is not worth losing your arm over. At this point, I found myself to be enjoying the run, but also wanting to enjoy just the game some, so I decided that energy weapons are in fact not bullets and are allowed. Good thing too, because the next enemies I ran into are the mechs, which, while I don't know if they resist cryokinesis, it would take a lot of blasts to bring them down. Also, there was a battery recharger like right behind me, so I did get tagged by a security camera, but I quickly learned that traveling to a different section of the ship, again a door that's right behind me, will remove the alert. After exploring a bit more and getting face hugged for the zillionth time, I find another regulator, and that means only one left. My guess is that it's in Sector D, because, you know, I haven't been there yet. That place is crawling with eggs and worms and all sorts of good invasive species stuff. Ah, great. The game has alien spiders. Judging by the size, I'd say they were from alien Australia. I find the last regulator and slot the toxin in, and Polito informs me that the elevator shaft is now clear. So I guess it's finally time for our destined meeting. I take the elevator up, dig around the area a bit, then meet Dr. Polito, who is dead? And the entity that we've been talking to was Shodan? Okay, so this reveal was unfortunately spoiled to me because honestly I didn't expect to ever play this game, so I didn't mind. But had I not known, this probably would have been pretty shocking. What's cool is the game actually sorta hints to it, at least indirectly. For example, Xerxes will say, "Why do you let the Metal Mother guide your actions?" and technically he could just be speaking like metaphorically, but the beauty is that it's literal, as Shodan is the one talking to us and guiding us the whole time. Anyway, Shodan goes on to explain that during the events of the original game, she created a new life form, the Annelids. Those are the aliens that we've been fighting. When the hacker from the first game jettisoned the grove that was attached to the Citadel, it crash landed on a planet. It contained 2 things. 1, the aforementioned life form, and 2, a small part of Shodan's data structure. Meaning, while she couldn't really do anything, she still existed and was more or less in sleep mode until the events just prior to this game where a distress call was picked up from the planet, and eggs containing the Annelid as well as Shodan's data was brought aboard the Von Braun. However, in that time that Shodan was taking a nap, the Annelid grew into something unruly and now seek to destroy her. That's why, you know, the mini is telling us why do we follow her and that if we join them, we can put an end to her. Shodan, wanting to gain our trust, pretended to be Polito because I know the first thing that makes me trust someone is learning that my entire perception of them has been a complete lie. Anyway, she continues on saying that if we want to live and end the Annelid, we need to work together and, you know, all that kind of happy stuff. I'm sure she's completely trustworthy, but even if she wasn't, I don't really have any other options. After returning to the normal office, we're informed that her children have co-opted the 3 simulation units on this deck and are using them to zombify the crew. How does that even work? Well, whatever, it translates to find 3 keycards and shove them in the 3 separate computer slots. She also says matters on deck 5 require my attention, but doesn't actually say what they are and that I can do whatever I see fit, it just needs to get done. I decided to stay on this deck just because, and after a while I found a cyborg assassin with my first of the 3 quantum simulation chips. Speaking of chips, gambling! House always wins. Anyway, I use my cyber modules to get the energy weapons requirement to use my laser rapier. My hope is that it will just be stupidly overpowered. Well, that's a good sign. Also, I decided grenades were fair game. Probably overkill to use them on eggs, but hey. This happened way more than it should have. In the Power Administration subdeck, I find a crystal shard, but I need to research it before I can use it. However, I think the laser rapier doesn't have a charge, so I just drop my wrench. Also, what's up with this room? It just kept dropping crates, so I thought I wasn't supposed to go this way yet, but later they just don't fall, so I'm not sure. Either way, back in the command center, I unlock this door, which has 2 guns and an idle mech. Is friend? Not friend! This is the point where things got kinda real. The game started throwing tougher and tougher enemies at me in large numbers, but I wasn't really prepared to handle any of them, so I died. A lot. Thankfully, as long as I have money, I can just respawn. A second cyborg assassin drops another key, and there is conveniently one of the access ports right next to where I dropped him. Yeah, I should have seen that coming. Not the bees! So fun fact, the cards are specific to each terminal. The one I need is not for this one, and the one I have no idea where the terminal is. Instead of searching, I decided to take a quick break and return to some earlier chemical store rooms to get the chems needed to research my stuff. The most important of which is researching the shard for another melee. God damn it. It's fine, I've got the modules for it, but like, why do I need to research how to use exotic weapons when all I'm going to do is hit things with it? It's not rocket science. I also opened the sub-armory on this floor, then upped my strength to 4 in order to equip the medium armor inside. This also had the added benefit of opening up more inventory slots. Honestly, had I known that, I would have done that solely for the extra space. With that detour out of the way, I head back to Deck 4 and discover that the mysterious crates have stopped spawning. Inside this room is a dead cyborg assassin with the final key. What killed him, I have no idea, but that sounds like a him problem. Since I knew where that one is supposed to go, I decided to hunt around for the third and final terminal, and after like 5 minutes, I found it. This game feels both confusing and not. Like, I somehow felt lost in the ship's hallways, but the map is actually rather small. I suppose that is a testament to how well the game is designed. Anyway, chips 2 and 3 are uploaded, corrupting Xerxes' data loop, and now it's time to head to Deck 5, Recreation. Also, I just realized something. The beginning of the game said that there is a crazy number of crew on board. There's only one elevator. That sounds like some kind of bureaucratic psycho warfare or something. Deck 5's whole thing is that there is a transmitter intended to be used to send a message to Earth about what happened aboard the ship. However, using it will also draw power away from Xerxes so Shodan can impose her magnificent will. Find the transmitter and activate it. Simple enough, right? Wrong, because the team that set up the transmitter decided to hide the code in art around the deck. That means I now have to go play I Spy with my little eye, a code to save the universe all around this place. This is exacerbated by the fact that the floor is huge. I think it's the biggest in the game, boasting multiple sub-areas that can have multiple floors. Eventually, I found the first part of the code on a painting in the game area, then I found another OS upgrade station and grabbed Spatially Aware, which, honestly, I think is the best upgrade. It will fill in my map completely, as well as display the locations of enemies at all times, and cameras, and the direction those cameras are facing. Next, I found myself in the simulation area where I purchased all the stim access cards for research purposes, I swear. The second part of the code I found on this artboard behind the admin desk, and the third from this lounge room. Then I returned to the mall. Mall? Well, that's what it says on the floor, where I find a keycard to the crew quarters. As I was clearing out the apartments, I found a new, gross suit of armor, a weapon of some sort, another piece of the code, and the access card for the athletics deck. Using that, I can— oh fuck, that thing isn't friendly looking. Yeah, probably going toe-to-toe with that monster wasn't my brightest idea. I used some cyber modules to get repair and maintenance leveled up so I can actually repair my weapons because, yeah, of course that's a thing, and get the, well, basically psychic life drain, because who wouldn't want to be a distance vampire? After clearing out the Rumbler and some other enemies, I find the transmitter, and you would think, okay, he's going to put in the code he collected, which is what I should have done. I didn't realize I had the code. Okay, here, listen to my super flimsy defense. The game doesn't really tell you much, but when you have an objective that's important, it will put it in your notes section. For example, the code for a door is 12345, it'll say that. So, what I thought it would do is automatically assemble the code once I found all the pieces. It didn't. So I wandered around for like 30 minutes looking for a piece of the code that just didn't exist until it occurred to me that every single code in the game has 5 digits, and I had 5 digits split across 4 entries. It's funny because Shodan rewards you for every milestone by sending cyber modules, and had I been paying attention, I would have noticed when I got the final piece, she did it there as well. Either way, I entered the code and Shodan compromises Xerxes, so mission accomplished, I guess. Shodan then merges herself with the ship, expanding her greatness, but then says the Annelid have infected the whole thing and it's pointless, and she wishes me to go to Deck 6 and she will tell me her new plan there. But first, more chemicals! Riveting gameplay, ain't it? Anyway, Shodan revealed that we must destroy the whole ship, and then together we can make our escape on the Rickenbacker. So she tells me to go to the command center and grab a keycard to go to Ops to use that card. At least this objective is straightforward, right? I take the tram because every game back then had to have a tram, thanks Half-Life, and deal with the weakest Australian spider, and was about to begin exploring the offices area when I was sent a message by Dr. Marie Delacroix. Well, allegedly. I have trust issues at this point, but either way, she says she's trapped in Cargo Bay A, but upon going over there, the door is locked. Well, I'm sure she's fine. Oh, 2 survivors, hey! You know what, never mind. Grenades are surprisingly effective. Who would have thought? The game is starting to throw the big heavy enemies at me, so I make sure to hoover up everything I can find and even add an EMP rifle to my arsenal. But this is where I made a mistake. See, I hacked into this room not finding a log to open it. I then grabbed the shuttle bay access card. Just make a note that I'm telling you this, I'll bring it up again in a moment. I continue exploring and find the survivors from earlier, but they jump ship as anyone with a single brain cell would do in this situation. I max out my energy weapon so I can actually use the EMP rifle I picked up and grab the bridge access card, which I then use to, well, you know, access the bridge. Here I find the DevOps card, but this is where the problems start. Okay, so first off, I thought Dr. Delacroix was in the engineering bay in that cargo shuttle area, but it turns out there's one on this deck as well. However, I didn't notice that at first because I didn't realize there were 2 doors out of this area. I'm just stupid, but basically there's an elevator back to the lower decks and the door for the shuttle bay. The game locks the shuttle bay doors because I'm not supposed to go there. First I needed the DevOps keycard, but since I didn't realize I was approaching the wrong door, I just wandered around for like an hour thinking I missed something. I ran back and forth between the exits and the bridge over and over and over until, well, I gave up and looked up what I was supposed to do. According to a guide I found, I missed one random locker that had a code to the security station door. But as I showed earlier, I had already hacked into that room and grabbed the keycard from it, so all this really did was get Shodan to give me some extra cyber modules. However, that made me realize that maybe I'm not actually stuck and I'm just missing something obvious, and sure enough, on my next pass through the entrance, I noticed the faint orange glow of the elevator button and definitely called myself a dumbass loud enough for my neighbors to hear. Either way, I make my way towards the command center, which I didn't expect to be easy, but what I really didn't expect was this game would just be constantly spawning enemies to throw at me. Why? Why do that? I mean, yeah, the mini is trying to stop me, but even for a normal playthrough, this seems really rude. When I realized that was what was happening, I basically just made a push for the control room, which is terrifying as a rumbler spawned and I was basically locked in here while it stomped around outside the room. Well, might as well allow Shodan to upload herself to the Rickenbacker, and she is elated, telling me she wants me to give control of the core overload to her by entering a destruct code, then go board the Rickenbacker. That doesn't sound like a bad idea at all. The engine core itself was also overrun with high-level enemies, so I just made a dash for the elevator, then blasted grenades and ice mine balls at everything in my way until I ran out of grenades. Fun fact, rumblers don't like elevators, so I can just stand here and slowly cook this one. When the coast is clear, I quickly input the code and then bail back to safety. Shodan tells me to return to the bridge and destroy the umbilical, but on the way there she informs me that the situation has changed. The Mini are trying to use these shuttles to escape, so I need to put a stop to that. I thought this was for the shuttle bays I'd already explored, the ones in engineering, but it's not. It's for the ones on this deck, which are behind a locked door I showed a couple of minutes ago. However, my brain, that is apparently the size of a pecan, can't process this. You know what? On second thought, go ahead and go. The first shuttle is easy, just deactivate the shield and shoot it a few times. Honestly, I'm surprised these things can handle spaceflight considering they blow up in like 7 blaster shots. The second one is a bit harder. A cyborg babe destroyed the shield generator controller, so I can't shut off the shield. But fret not, Shodan says I can buy a resonator and attach it to the shield generators and it will blow up. So, time to talk about the problem with my negative 7th grade reading level. To get the resonator, I need to hack a replicator machine. That's fine, I've been doing that. Do you know what I also need? Money. Nanites to be specific, and 100 of those to be even more specific. I had 94 after failing to hack it a couple times. That's right, I ran out of money. Now, if I had known that my psi transmutation ability gave me nanites, this wouldn't have been an issue. But I didn't. So I just spent some time running around looking for some loose change on the ground. You know, pulling up couch cushions, that sort of thing. I actually ended up taking the remote pattern detection ability in the hopes that I could find some that I missed, and hey, I made a joke about couch cushions, but look where I found some. With just enough dosh, I buy the resonator, slap it on a shuttle, then duck and cover. This also blows open the broken doors for Shuttle Bay A, which is where Dr. Delacroix is supposed to be. Upon entering, Shodan tells us to, not, but I couldn't help it. Unfortunately, the good doctor has already checked out. All I got was some modules and an audio log that seemed like Shodan was working with her and that she plans to do something sinister with the faster-than-light drives. Nah, I'm sure Shodan is completely trustworthy, nothing to hide, nope. Just as I'm about to board the Rickenbacker, Crinchkin, someone I hadn't mentioned until now and I don't think knew existed until after this point because dumb pistachio brain tells me to go to the bridge and that he has something to discuss with me. When I get there, however, I just see 2 references to SpongeBob. What do you mean the newer seasons are better? Upon boarding the Rickenbacker, Shodan says we have to destroy the Von Braun, but first I need to destroy some eggs that the Mini have laid on the ship. She then says that the Annelid fear me because I am her avatar. But then I immediately die to some turrets placed along this ladder. There are 16 eggs in total, but thanks to my permanent enemy reveal implant, it's actually pretty easy to hunt them all down. Suddenly, I am contacted by Captain Diego, and he basically says that there isn't much time and that he has to tell me something. Okay, so tell me, what's that? You want me to go meet you in the sickbay? Wouldn't that take like 1,000,000 times longer than if you just said the thing? Along my way, I found the final OS upgrade station, and this time I took cyber assimilation, which allows me to sometimes harvest healing items from robots. To be honest, this would have been way more helpful earlier, but oh well. God, I hate these turrets. Once I destroy the final egg, Shodan congratulates me and tells me to get to the bridge. In order to do so, I have to go through this weird upside down section. I don't really understand what this is. Did I get anti-gravity boots? Did this section of the ship decide it wanted to roll over? Did all the psi boosters go to my head? Whatever, I'll just ignore it. I do find the sick bay, and oh surprise, Diego died before I could get there, but I gotta know, would it take too long to record whatever he wanted to tell me? No? He managed to do that? Well, then why couldn't he have just told me? I sort of kind of feel bad now. He says he has something to help me and that it's in his quarters and the card is on his body, so, thanks, Diego. Once I return to right side up Rickenbacker, Shodan informs us that the Mini has basically formed a shell around the Von Braun and we can't separate from it. What she wants us to do is to use an escape pod to launch myself into its guts. That kind of sounds like a one-way trip. Do I have to? Anyway, the weapon inside Diego's quarters is the antlered launcher, a weapon that is probably strong. I say probably because it requires a research of 6 to even unlock and then an exotic skill of 6 to even use. At any rate, I jump in the escape pod and launch myself deep into the Mini, rearranging their guts in the process. Shodan tells me that she's not able to aid me here, and that kinda sucks. Eventually, I found a data log that says if I follow the nerves that lead away from the sphincter, then I can find some nerve clusters that if destroyed might let the hole loosen up so I can fit inside. I ended up dying on my way to the first one because the radiation was just too high. I don't know if there's a way to lower this or if I just need to tank it with a rad suit and chems, but the second try I just went sonic fast and managed to power through. The other cluster is much easier to get to, and by that I mean I ran by it without noticing it earlier, so there's no resistance trying to backtrack to it. This section has teeth. Not a thing I would want to find after entering a sphincter, but I push through that too and dive into a pool of water that is very clearly a point of no return. This section is filled with rumblers and Psyweavers, which aside from one earlier joke I haven't mentioned. TLDR, they are invincible, or rather infinitely respawning floating jellyfish that shoot psychic blasts at you. The only way to kill them is to kill the brainstem umbilical cord nearby. But beyond those is the brain of the Mini. My first attempt at getting here, I didn't even make it into the room. Once I finally did, the area is swarming with several rumblers, which apparently respawn indefinitely, and some Psyweavers. My plan was to just circle strafe the thing and fire at it until I was victorious, however, it didn't seem like I was doing any damage. Plus, the rumblers are slightly faster than me, plus I would burn through most of my good ammo just trying to get into the damn room. So I decided to just sprint by everything in an attempt to keep the ammo, and while it was a bit sketch, I succeeded. Then, when I got into the room, I used my trump card, a speed booster which allowed me to easily outpace any of the enemies. At one point, a stray grenade blew up one of the floating things around it, and that's when I realized I could blow those up. It didn't register that they were making it invincible, I just assumed they healed it. After taking those down, a health bar appears and the brain is no more. I jump down the brain shaft and ride the currents of my victory, ready to take my new buddy Shodan home. What's that? Shodan lied to me? Oh no, how could I have ever seen this coming? Yeah, so basically she never planned on blowing up the Von Braun. Apparently it's faster than light drives can be used to make pockets of reality or something, and that's bad? I have the brain of a gecko, so I don't really get it, but she's now the new big bad, so I dive into cyberspace and I have to fight her. There isn't much of this area either, just a few virtual assassins and some math homework that tries to kill me, and another point of no return. You remind me of the whole pre-3D graphics Pokemon looking better debate. Anyway, for this battle I need to hack 3 terminals, which, man, I'm glad I invested in hacking. I don't know what I would do if I didn't. Shodan occasionally sends clones at me, but they go down real easy, and Shodan herself, super weak once the shields are down. After I kicked her ass, she proceeds to insult me for a while, insect this, bug that, until she pulls a 180 and says that there is value in our friendship, that she could offer me true power. Nah. Well said, Dollar Store Gordon Freeman. Well, all's well that ends well, and I'm sure that's the last we've seen of Shodan. Wait, did she take over her body? That must have been a shock to her biological systems.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching the video. I had a lot of fun doing this. Like I think I said at the beginning, I had never played the original System Shock 2, and then when they made the remake or remaster or whatever, the first one, I picked it up and I was like, man, this is fun. And then they did the second one, I was like, man, this is fun. So I just made a video, and it was fun. How many times did I say fun in that sentence? But it was enjoyable. I use a new word. It was enjoyable to try something new that I just never played before. I probably won't do another System Shock 2 video. I might do the first game, why not? But like BioShock, that's not off the table. There's a lot of fun in that game too, but yeah, thank you for watching it, and it looks like we're about to have this week's winner, and I think Stain? I don't think Stain. It is Stain. Congratulations, Stain, but what I was thinking is, have you won this before? Am I going to have to go in and check these parameters? No, congratulations, Stain, on your win.